took his team to the Final Four last year. And Bruce, we've talked to a number of coaches over the course of the afternoon while we were awaiting word from the NCAA and the ultimate decision. What did you anticipate the NCAA doing as you watched this situation unfold?
Well, Reese, we were at Bridgestone Arena this morning in a shoot-around, and we were actually on a bus on our way to Vanderbilt for a second practice when we got word that the SEC tournament was canceled. I went to the back of the bus and I told the guys before they got it on social media, and the reaction was pretty emotional, particularly for our seniors. I've got 5 seniors that felt like we had some unfinished business, felt like because this thing was so wide open with so many good teams, but nobody really clearly heading above the rest, that we were hoping that we could play for another couple of championships. So obviously the student athletes were disappointed. But Reese, being in the building this morning, it was quite surreal in the sense that it was empty, and it was going to be empty when we were going to be competing. And there was so much else going on outside the building in the world that it seemed like what we were doing there may not have been as important as it was at other times in their careers.
We heard that there were several players that, particularly after the Rudy Gobert diagnosis, it sort of hit home with them, and they were apprehensive about playing. What did you sense from your players about that?
Reese, didn't sense any apprehension regarding playing from our guys. I also think that we're going to listen to the leadership and folks that have forgotten more than we know about what's the best way to attack this problem in our country and on our planet, and we're going to roll with it. And but I didn't sense any concern from our guys about going in there and competing. And you know, they're younger, they're kind of living in the moment, and you know, so obviously their first reaction was one of, you know, disappointment. Now the focus is going to be for these student athletes. Okay, what's next? What does the rest of the semester look like in an online programming situation? What does it look like for my seniors who are going to try to, you know, a couple of them got a chance to get drafted? What does it look like for a player like Isaac Okoro who's got a chance to leave early and get into the draft? My focus tomorrow morning when I meet with my players is, okay, our season's over. We were 25-6. We finished second in this league. We probably would have been a 4 or 5 seed in the NCAA tournament, but our time together is up. Now it's about you. It's about each one of those individuals, and where do we go from here? Maintaining a good standing in school, finishing up their degrees, moving my seniors on to what's next, getting my returning players to start to focus in on next year, and then at the same time understand we got to stay healthy and stay safe.
A number of coaches that we've spoken to, and many of you guys I know have talked to each other, advocated for postponement. I mean, the decision has been made now, but what did you think in terms of postponement as opposed to outright cancellation?
Yeah, Reese, I was hopeful for postponement. You know, but we don't have all the facts. So in order to keep my team engaged, I said, listen, this tournament this weekend has been canceled. My hope is that they have a selection Sunday and Auburn hears its name called. Our name doesn't get called very often, and we put ourselves in position this year again to hear our name called and go play for a national championship. And if it needs to be postponed, you know, for a while, we'll stay right and we'll stay ready. And when you tell us it's time to play, we'll play. But obviously, there's more to it than that. And, you know, in the state of Alabama, as of this moment right now, publicly, I don't know that we're one of the very few states that hasn't had a case. I'm sure it's only a matter of time before it will. And so we're going to try and listen to the authorities. And my guess is I'm going to try to keep my guys here and keep them on campus. They're going to extend spring break another week, so nobody is going to be coming back to campus right now. And this community and this town, we're safe right now. And I think we should probably stay here and be in that position until we hear more from, the people of authority as to what would be next.
Bruce, we always appreciate your generosity in joining us. Congratulations on a fine season, and I wish you and your team and your program, your family, continued good health. Bruce Pearl, thanks a lot for being with us.
God bless to all of you as well.
All right, that's Bruce Pearl, the head coach at Auburn. Still to come, this edition of Sports Center, the 2020 NCAA tournament for both the men and the women have been canceled. We will have the latest from Indianapolis when you come back.
A little longer than expected for sure, but the NCAA came out within the last hour and a half canceling the men's and women's college basketball tournaments. There will be no March Madness in 2020. It's not just basketball, though. It is all remaining winter and spring championships. Everything canceled as the sports world continues to react and act to the news of coronavirus and the spread throughout the country, throughout the world. In a statement that was just released by the NCAA, it goes as follows. Today, NCAA President Mark Emmert and the Board of Governors canceled the Division I men's and women's 2020 basketball tournaments, as well as all remaining winter and spring NCAA championships. This decision is based on the evolving COVID-19 public health threat, our ability to ensure the events do not contribute to spread of the pandemic, and the impracticality of hosting such events at any time during this academic year, given ongoing decisions by other entities, end quote. For more, let's send it over to Reese Davis.
Thank you, Sage. Joined now by Dawn Staley, the women's coach at South Carolina, the #1 ranked team in the country. Dawn, thank you for spending some time with us. What was your reaction when you heard that the women's championship would be canceled this year?
Well, you could kind of feel it building up to that, especially when people as close as the two Utah Jazz players being tested positively for coronavirus. You can just feel it, and although in the back of your head and your mind you don't want that to be, but I was dreading having to text our team, especially our seniors, that they won't be able to realize their dreams after having somewhat of a dream season for them.
Dawn, what was that communication like, particularly with those two senior players that you have?
Well, I actually just texted the group because I wanted the entire group to feel what I was feeling, and I wanted to hear the responses. I wanted our team to wrap our arms around our seniors and let them know, how very special they are and how much we appreciate them leading us to this point. And, Ty was the first one to respond with, oh, my God. And then the next thing was, she's in tears. And it was, it's pretty hard. And Kiki, although she's an emotional kid, is usually the other way. But she gave us the tear emojis, and it's just really hard. All of our players chimed in and just said they wanted it for them. They wanted to compete and win a national championship for them, and that just won't be. But I do think it was the right decision. I think when it comes down to how it's impacting the rest of our country and what it can do, and it's spreading so rapidly, the NCAA probably acted quicker than we wanted them to, but it's the right decision.
Dawn, you said that you have the #1 team in the country. You felt it building to this. At what point did you realize over the last several days that this was a possibility, if not a likelihood?
Well, I didn't think it was a possibility until probably yesterday. And then as the news you kept watching, every news outlet, every social media outlet, and it was just a build-up to, this isn't going to be. Once the NBA suspended their season, we knew everything else would probably trickle down to us. And you're thinking about how much money is involved in the NCAA tournament, that you're thinking maybe there's a shot of us being able to participate. But then it's like, more and more cases, and, the unknown is right there in front of our faces. And although, we want to turn a deaf ear to it, it's right there in front of us, and it's not getting not getting any better.
Dawn, understanding that basketball or any sport really takes secondary consideration, if even secondary, during a pandemic like this. But still, it's what coaches do, and your role in this sport has been immense. And with your team, with the opportunity to compete for a national championship, and the way Oregon's Sabrina Ionescu has really captivated people, just in a basketball sense, I understand you're on board with the decision, but in a basketball sense, how would you describe what was lost by not being able to play the women's tournament?
Here's what was lost. Players, I would say, Sabrina was definitely brought a lot of fans to our game, but if you just kind of looked at what we were able to do in South Carolina with the fan base that we had, and if you just look at the social media wars with different fan bases, we were talked about a lot, meaning the whole culture of women's basketball. It was a thing.
Right downtown, Big D, Dallas, Texas. A beautiful city, especially during basketball season. Notice I didn't say football season, by the way. And there you see American Airlines Center, the Plaza. Beautiful view right there. They got a hell of a team this year, too. Lots to talk about in regards to these Dallas Mavericks. It's a matchup of two of the best young players in the NBA. 21-year-old Luka Doncic have the Mavericks primed for their first playoff appearance in 4 years. Tonight, he will take on Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets. Denver is chasing the Clippers for the #2 seed out west. Sports Center with Stephen A. starts right now.
Welcome to Sports Center with Stephen A. Smith. Presented by Mountain Dew.
The impact of the coronavirus is being felt in the NBA. Today, the Golden State Warriors announced that they will play their home game tomorrow night against the Brooklyn Nets without fans in attendance. This after the San Francisco Health Office prohibited groups of 1,000 or more from assembling. Welcome to Sports Center. I'm Stephen A. Smith. I'm here with yours truly, Brian Windhorst. He's sitting right next to me. Lots of stuff to get into. The league was on the phone all day today, talking to its owners, Commissioner Adam Silver, and, of course, the 30 owners or so. What can you tell us about what transpired today?
Yeah, there's really kind of two things going on right now, Stephen A. One is they've got to have immediate planning for how they're going to handle the next few days, because obviously we're seeing all of these fans taken out of arenas. Fans are going to be taken out of NBA arenas very soon, all across the board. If they don't make the decision is going to get made for them. They're aware of that. The second thing is long-term planning. Taking a look at arena schedules, talking with team officials, and seeing what the feasibility is of potentially delaying the season, leaving that open as an option that they research.
Let's bring in our ultimate insider, Adrian Wojnarowski, NBA insider. Talk to us. You've been working the phones all day. You've been all over this story, Woj. Talk to us about what you've learned. You just tweeted something a few minutes ago.
That's right, Stephen, Brian. The greater consensus right now among NBA teams is to continue playing the season, but without fans in arenas. The league is going to make a decision by Thursday, by tomorrow, on next steps. But there's a push in this league right now to continue the season without fans in the arena. Another consideration on that owner's call with the league today, I'm told, was the idea of taking a hiatus, stepping back from the season, postponing games, potentially canceling regular season games. But right now, there's a greater push, a much greater push, I'm told, with the league in continuing to play games, but do it without fans in the arena. And one thing that I know the league office, certainly teams all want, they don't want lost games, and they want to try to keep these games on television.
I know that you talked about there's a stronger push to just not have fans in there, Woj, but how strong, if you can tell us at all, is the push, at least by some of the owners, to actually postpone or cancel some of these games?
Well, I think it's everyone's preference to keep playing, but I think it's been part of the conversation. They have talked about everything from moving games from one arena in a city to the away arena based on the schedule of a night's games, even looking at games at neutral sites, maybe even in non-NBA cities. But right now, the push is to continue playing games with the current schedule we have in arenas that are going to be empty, following the lead of what the NCAA did with the college basketball tournaments today, which is to play them for the foreseeable future in empty arenas. But the league office, Adam Silver ultimately is going to decide that, I'm told, by tomorrow. They have to get moving in a direction here. And certainly the consensus, again, that I'm told, along with Zach Lowe, is to continue playing the games without fans.
Wendy, let's get back to you here. What do you think ultimately will happen here? Because even though there are no cases of NBA players having contracted the virus, in the same breath, there's got to be obviously a very palpable fear of that. What do you think leads to them ultimately making this decision and just sticking with one decision over the other?
If Woj says that the owner's consensus is to keep playing, he's right. Woj is always right. I'm just going to tell you, I'm looking at what happened in China and I'm looking at what happened in Italy. And in both those cases, they tried to continue those leagues, especially in Italy, without fans in the soccer league, and it just did not work. Mm-hmm. And now today we have a reported case of a Juventus player, one of the most powerful, biggest teams in Italy, coming down with the coronavirus. I think that eventually you're going to see the leagues have to suspend. That's my opinion. Mm-hmm. They're gonna have to suspend play from a just player health standpoint and from a financial standpoint, because one of the things that's going to happen here, that every game you play without fans, it's millions and millions of dollars. And in the playoffs, where ticket revenue is a vital part of the NBA's revenue pie, it's going to be probably between $100 and $200 million lost if they play playoff games without it. And not that revenue would lead here, right, but it's going to be a factor.
Woj, Adam Silver is the commissioner of the National Basketball Association. Do you anticipate him making this call or ultimately putting it to a vote? I know he had conversations with league owners, but is this going to simply come down to the commissioner making a call, or is he going to look for the owners to vote on it? What can you tell us about that?
I think Stephen, somewhere in between that with Adam Silver. I don't know that there's a specific vote here, but part of what he wanted to do today was to hear his owners out in a group setting. There's been a lot of one-off conversation, certainly recently, but in the end, this is a commissioner's decision, and he's got to make it in partnership, not just with the other owners. They met with the Players Association today, and in that meeting, they told the Players Association their goal was to try to keep, again, playing the games without fans, not having to cancel games. And then, of course, television, arenas, Brian mentioned that, all the other factors. There's a lot of constituents here when you're making this decision, but this is ultimately at the feet of the commissioner.
Woj and Wendy, they'll be with us throughout the show. Don't go anywhere. Here's more reaction from around the NBA today, starting with Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Obviously, this is the NBA, and we're paid to play games. Now having fans is going to be tough, because everybody that play basketball, they play for the fans. They play for, energy, the atmosphere. But at the end of the day, we got to think about, our health and safety, not just the players, the fans.
Because at the end of the day, professional basketball players, so we got to play in an empty arena. It wouldn't be fun, but, it'd be competitive.
You see people dying, more and more people are, getting affected by the virus, so, that's real for me. People are losing their lives, so that's when it became real for me.
Let's bring in former Memphis Grizzlies head coach, as well as the New York Knicks former head coach, David Fizdale. Coach, you first learned of the impact the coronavirus was having on the NBA. What were your thoughts, sir?
I'm not hearing you, Stephen A.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
You might have to come back to me. I'm not hearing anything.
All right, we'll get back to you. We're having some technical difficulties. We'll definitely get back to y'all in a few minutes. Coming up, we'll get you set for the Nuggets and Mavs on ESPN. Doris Burke standing by with reaction from Dallas over the coronavirus concerns and inside the must-see matchups in tonight's showdown. Plus, the NBA MVP race heats up. Has LeBron taken the lead over Giannis to win the award? We'll dissect the deciding factors. Next, don't touch that dial. More to come.